I'm Carolyn. This is my fiance, John.
Hello.
We are addicts in recovery, and John has been clean and sober almost 5 years. I just got 4 years a month ago, and we thought we would talk about our experiences in recovery. So getting sober was really hard. For me, I was in denial for a really long time that I had any problem with drugs. So swallowing my pride and admitting that and getting sober was the first hurdle. But from there, it just stayed hard because life happens. It continues to happen. Challenges happen regardless of whether you're sober or not. So while I expected my life to get better and better, it was just worse. There were so many challenges with grieving loved ones and hospitalizations, and it was quite a while before it got better, but it did get better. What about you?
Well, getting clean and sober wasn't too difficult a choice for me. I just finally hit a super low point in my life, and really the only challenges I had staying clean and sober were staying focused on that, because I started getting things back into my life, and so I'd kind of slack off on the things that I had to do to learn to live clean and sober, and then just personality traits and mental illness would start to crop back up, and it would always usually take till I was in a lot of pain again before I could refocus on the program that I work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was an easy decision because I wound up homeless for a long time, and finally got a tent, and I think the gratitude from having that tent is kind of what made it simple. It's just I had a good attitude about it.
Yeah, you're the only person I've ever met who is more grateful living in a tent than in their previous life. You had so much that you lost, and just starting out on that foot was really admirable.
Yeah.
When I met him and I would hear him talk about that, I just remember thinking wow, I think this guy's on a great path and I want to be on that path too. So that was kind of what brought us together. What have these past 5 years in sobriety been like for you?
There have been ups and downs. Gotten jobs, lost jobs. I tend to be where I need to be when I need to be. I'm in between jobs again right now, but it's all just a learning experience. I find out there are areas in my life that maybe I need to focus on more, whether that's just I'm not as honest a person as I think I am, or the way I interact with people on a day-to-day basis. It's all about work, and so they've been good. I don't have bad days. I have bad moments in days, but I don't let myself feel like I've had a bad day, because it's that positive attitude that I was talking about that I had in the first year sober, when I was living in the tent. It kind of drove me through. It was I have to keep a positive attitude, and that's a choice I make. It wasn't always a choice, but I'm at a point in my life right now where that's a choice I make. So instead of getting really bummed out or blaming others when I lose a job, for instance, I take a look at what it is I can take away from that experience and where I need to work to keep something like that from happening again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I think I had to learn how to handle things without drugs that I hadn't dealt with before. I had lost people in my life before, but I had always been high, so I had never learned how to grieve a death sober. So that was hard. There were a lot of challenges like that. Addressing my mental health sober was huge, because I had been trying to overcome my mental health challenges for years and only made so much progress, really limited increments of progress, because I didn't realize I had to be sober to actually address that. So once I was clear-headed enough to realize this is the only way it's gonna work, that was a motivation to stay sober. And also I did improve by leaps and bounds. My mental health has recovered so much, and I'm actually stable, which I never was before. And I used to think that drugs were what kept me level-headed, and now I see that it's the work I've put in with therapy and with my sobriety. So that's gotten to a place where my life is a lot better. My life before recovery was such a shit show, and I was probably the last person to realize it. I did know that my life was falling apart, but I had no idea just to what depths, because I never really saw problems with like getting evicted or being in an abusive relationship. That was just my normal, and I didn't know that that was chaotic. And so to come into sobriety and realize that a lot of these survival tactics I had were not okay, it blew my mind. I had mostly like trauma, like I have CPTSD, so like that culminated in a drug habit that I justified as self-medication. Like I didn't see it as a problem because I grew up like that. What about you?
Yeah, bad. Next, no. No, there's not a lot I really prefer to be specific about. I'm a survivor of my childhood, and I'm not going to go into that. None of what happened in my childhood is what made me an addict. I was born an addict, but it did teach me maladaptive ways of interacting with people and dealing with situations, right? Just the way I handle people, the way I kind of assess situations, that's all based on a very trauma, it's all very trauma responsive, right? So hypervigilance and stuff like that. And I started using very, very, very young, when I was 9 years old. And it wasn't like I had a beard. I started abusing amphetamines and probably didn't take many sober breaths until I was, 36. So my life just progressively got worse, and it was just a mess. I don't really know how to quantify it. I felt lonely no matter where I was. I was just in constant pain, and I thought that was the only life anybody lived.
Yeah.
Like I just thought that was life. So it's really hard for me to without going into detail, and that's not what this video is about, to kind of conceptualize it. So
I get that.
So what I'm working on right now is, I gotta find another job. But like I mentioned earlier, there are things about my character that I get an opportunity to take a closer look at and analyze, and that'll help me grow in the long run, and maintain relationships and jobs and stuff like that. It's interesting, when I was getting loaded, I didn't have a hard time keeping a job. I mean, I did at points, but I could hold down a job for 6 or 7 years just fine.
Highly functional addict.
Yeah. And it can be hard to look at some of those things, especially after changing and growing so much already, but that's something I have to stay on top of. Excuse me, I'm working with a new sponsor now, and that's kind of helping me identify some of these areas that I really need to focus on. And I always thought balance was something I would get to, where everything would be like even on the teeter-totter, but what I've learned is that balance is just, as part of the journey. You're never going to sit here forever. You're always going to wobble back and forth, so it's just something I have to learn to incorporate in my life.
That's honestly what I'm working on right now too, is finding balance. I'm working on a lot of different things, but balance, we were literally just talking earlier today about how I'm always filling my days with helping other people and taking on all these projects and overexerting myself because I don't know how to reel it in and do self-care. I honestly don't know what self-care would look like for me, because the things I consider self-care, like knitting and drawing, are things that I take to excess until I'm incredibly stressed out. So finding balance and having structure and routine, which is really huge, and I'm just now kind of coming into that where I'm taking care of my home life better, like trying to implement daily little, tidying up and cooking more, and basically just having a normal average adult life.
I should have said I'm working on getting some sleep, because I know someone's going to see this and be like, he looks like he doesn't want to be there.
I know, yeah, you always get that comment. Relationships are another area of my life that I'm finding balance in, and I'm learning maintenance. I have better relationships with my family today. I am closer with my dad. I've repaired a lot of damage with my mom, and we have a healthy relationship, which is mind-blowing that it's gotten that much better. I've had to, unfortunately, cut out people from my life that were causing harm, and I it's complicated. It's very painful, but my life is a lot healthier now as a result, and working on myself, like in relation to breaking off that contact, like going to, I'm gonna say it, Al-Anon, like not gonna try to break any traditions, but I suppose I just did. I do go to like a fellowship for working on toxic family relationships, and it's like this whole other side that I didn't know was there. Like my family, my friends, I've kind of curated a smaller crowd of people I feel safe with, and it also like allows me to have like a stronger relationship with you, because I'm not spending all my energy in other relationships like I used to, where I'm like talking to other people about emotional needs when I could be sharing that kind of stuff with you. I feel like we're doing a lot better in like, you know, like the give and take we have. What would you say?
Healthy relationships. Most of mine are. I need to be better about bringing people into my life, but no, for the most part I have healthy relationships. I don't have a lot of friends, but the people I do have in my life, I can trust that they have my best interest at heart, because I have their best interest. Yeah, I just don't have I have acquaintances, right? But I don't consider those people friends, and I don't let them in the same way I used to. I used to be like an open book and overshare and didn't keep anything private, because I was looking for connection. I didn't know it, but I was looking for intimate connection somewhere. And now I've learned the value of like keeping some things private, and not oversharing and being vulnerable with someone the first time you talk to them. And as a result, I don't have anyone in my life who's trying to cause me any problems. I have people who want to help when they can, and I have people who I want to help. And kind of, I don't know, the way I look at relationships today is I try to see what I can add to them instead of take from them. So instead of somebody who wants something I need or or has something that I want, it's, you know, what can I put into this relationship? So
yeah, I really like that, because I didn't even think of it that way, but like when I first got sober, I was so outgoing towards people, and like I was so desperate for friends that I would let people walk all over me and take advantage of me because I was so lonely. And yeah, like you said, I have fewer friends today, but I'm so much better off that way. I have like 3 friends that I really love, and I'm okay with that, and I like kind of prefer it that way now. I never thought it would be like that, but I actually prefer to be a lot less social now. So John, do you have any words of wisdom or advice you would give to any struggling addicts looking to get into recovery?
I don't have any words of wisdom. You can do it. No, there's always hope. That's the one thing that's always there. I didn't have much left. I was desperate when I decided to get clean and sober, but I did have hope early on, and that kind of helped out. Somebody cares about you, right? Like no matter what, there's at least one person out there cares about you and wants you to be doing well. So just try to cling to any hope you can, because like if someone like me can get clean and sober and live a completely different life, so can you. And that's not to say like I was so bad, if I can get it, you can get it. But I know plenty of people worse than me who have gotten clean and sober, who I look up to. So anyone can do it. It's tough at first. But yeah, if you don't have anything left, you still have hope. So
yeah. And like, I guess I would say that, you know, similarly, don't give up no matter how many tries it takes. I relapsed a bunch. I relapsed a bunch before I finally was able to get any amount of time. Like I was a chronic relapser. I think a lot of people didn't have faith that I would make it. I remember at my first birthday meeting, the person sharing about me said, you know, let's hope you keep coming back or something like that, as if like, you know, we don't think you're gonna make it much farther. But like, I didn't let that discourage me. I don't think it's something to be discouraged about. There's no shame in trying and trying again, no matter how many times it takes. Like, just don't give up on yourself. And I guess it does get better if you do get sober and everything is shit and your life sucks. It does get better, and it might take a really long time, but it does eventually get to the point where it gets better. So if you feel like there's no end in sight in your misery and it's just not worth it, stick it out. Like, see how long it takes, but get there. Like, just keep holding on day after day until you get to the point that it does get better.
Well, there's not a problem that a drink or drug doesn't make worse. So.
Exactly, yeah. Like, anything can be a reason to relapse, but you could also make that a reason to stay clean. Like, you don't have to go out over anything bad. You can motivate you. Anyway, thanks for watching through this video. I appreciate your support. I put out videos every Monday and Thursday, so stick around if you'd like to see more. Thank you so much, John, for being with me today and having this conversation. So,
Bye.
Bye.